today's video, I'll be giving you my top, I don't even know, I'm going to be ranking wide receivers, basically. So, this is going to be a long list. And, we're about 2/3 of the way through the NFL season of 2024. This may not be based solely off of this season. It's going to be based off of, hey, this guy's had a really good long career. And, yeah, he's on his way down, but right now he's still good. But he's going to kind of take a little bit of a hit because this year, but we also got to look at the body of work. It's kind of just a collection, okay? So, keep that in mind as we go through this video. But before we get into this video, let me remind you, check out w.gg. Right here behind me, you see some of my favorite flavors. The green apple, the fruit punch. There's some great flavors. This company is great. They have, each of their energy drinks. They come in 30-serving tubs like that. And they're about $35 a tub. That's just over $1 per drink. Other energy drinks will cost you about $3.50. It's a much cheaper, much better tasting energy drink than you'll find anywhere. It also doesn't have all that extra junk in it. Either way, use code SHREDDER for 10% off your order on w.gg or click the link in the description, and let's get to ranking some wide receivers. First, let me kind of go over our tiers. There is the elite tier, okay? The elite receivers in the league, okay? Then on top, but not elite. These guys are, you'll see who fits in there. You'll understand in a moment. But they're really, really, really good. They're better than just your standard wide receiver one, but they're not really necessarily elite. I think the term elite is thrown around too loosely. Elite fits a few guys. Either way. Good wide receiver ones, you're not worried about them. Elite wide receiver twos, like these are the guys that if they're your wide receiver one, you're fine. But as a wide receiver two, you're sitting pretty, man. Like, that's a good spot to be. Good wide receivers, there's just a standard term. Like, hey, they're fine. Yeah, there's nothing wrong. You don't really want them as your wide receiver one at all, but a wide receiver two is pretty solid. Wide receiver three, well, you're working with some good stuff here. Up and coming, and then depth, bad, or gadget. So, let's get straight up into this ranking of receivers. So, first off, I'm just kind of looking through, not going to go in any particular order here. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think he's an interesting one. I do think he teeters the line of elite. I think, okay, he's a slot receiver. He gets all the stuff out of the slot. Yeah, guard him then. Do something about it. Yeah, it's kind of like the Mike Thomas stuff. It's, Mike Thomas, he's a slant boy. All he does is run slant routes. Guard it then. And they did it for a couple years. I mean, then he got injured, but hey, for the time he was in, he was on fire because he couldn't be guarded, and all he did was run two routes. Like, yeah, that's not his problem. Guard him then. Amon-Ra, he might get dropped down later on in this list, but right now, he's standing right there. Then, DK Metcalf, to me, I think he's an elite wide receiver too. I'm not a big fan of DK Metcalf. Does he fit into good wide receiver one? I don't know if I'd call him a wide receiver one. I think he is a wide receiver two, but he's a great wide receiver two. Like, if he's your one, you're fine. Once again, you're fine with him, but he's not amazing like that. He does have times where he drops balls that just don't make sense, things like that. So, either way, DJ Moore, I think he is a good wide receiver one. There's nothing wrong with DJ Moore at all. He's not the flashiest guy, but he's pretty solid. Keenan Allen, getting into an interesting one here. Considering where, this year has been a little bit down, but last year was the best year of his career, his last year with the Chargers. Give me on top, but not elite. I'm going to hold on some hope for him. Yes, he's older, but at the same time, last year was incredible. This year, the offenses look bad across the board, so I can't really pin that straight up on him. He's also been hurt and dealt with some injuries, so, I'll put him in a good wide receiver one. We'll leave him there. That's fine, okay? Jahan Dotson, I'm going to make a brand new tier for him because I don't think there is a tier that really fits him at all there. We'll say, questionable talent, okay? No capitalize here because he doesn't deserve a capitalization. Let's just be real. He's questionable talent. That's about as good as you can label that one. Fixing some coloration there. Jahan Dotson, he's young. There should be some stuff he can do. Why isn't he doing it? I don't know. What's his question? That's kind of the same thing for Dontavion Wicks. He's kind of just flushed down in a pretty deep, a strangely deep wide receiver room. They're not very top heavy, but they're very mid heavy. They have a lot of solid receivers, so we'll get to that in a minute. But either way, Garrett Wilson, he is a good wide receiver one. I don't know if he's elite. I think he's just, it's hard to tell about him with the situation he's been in the majority of his career. So, Jackson Smith-Njigba, that is an up-and-coming guy if I've ever seen one. Same with Jaden Reed. No, actually, I think Jaden Reed's done enough to be labeled a good wide receiver. He's just solid. There's nothing wrong with him, but is he elite? No, there's not a chance he's elite. You definitely, there's a lot of guys that could be ahead of him. You'd take ahead of him, and he'd be your wide receiver too. And you'd be fine with that. You'd be chilling. But he's more than up and coming. I do think Jameson Williams is still up and coming, and he's kind of on the last leg of up and coming. If he doesn't get up and come on, then he's going to be down in the questionable talent tier, but we need to see more from him. Brandon Ayuk. I know he's been hurt this year, but I'm not going to hurt him on that one. Brandon Ayuk, he's on top, but he's not elite. Deebo Samuel, I think he's an elite wide receiver too, mainly because Deebo Samuel is a strange receiver. He's not really a wide receiver. He's a football player. You do a lot of things with him, but he's not particularly a great receiver. He's a great football player, if that makes any sense. And if it doesn't, well, more power to you. Justin Jefferson is elite, probably the best receiver in the league. Oh well. Jamar Chase, that's also elite. Calvin Ridley, that's a new tier. New tier. Sorry. Yeah, this one is mid. That's all I can say there, man. Mid. He is as mid gets mid. Where is he at, Calvin Ridley? Overpaid this offseason. Told you guys it wasn't going to be a good signing, Tennessee. But all these Tennessee fans thought he was the best receiver on the planet. No, he's very average, if not below average. He's just not a special player. It's what it is. Cortland Sutton. I'm going to put him in elite wide receiver too. I don't really think that he fits the number one receiver scheme as well as even these two guys. But if he's your two, you're chilling. Like that, he's better than Jaden Reed. Don't get me wrong. You're good on that. Devontae Adams, he's still elite to me. He has a bit of a buffer here. You know, this year is kind of a throwaway year for him. I think he's a great receiver. And, you know, he's probably, in my opinion, we'll get to the rankings later, but I don't know. I think, you know, we've got to see more from him. It's just kind of been weird all season because of his lack of playing time in the early parts and even with the Jets a little bit. We just got to see more. Christian Kirk, mid. Maybe good wide receiver. Maybe. But because of his contract value and where he places amongst that stuff, mid. But I'll put him in good wide receiver. Chris Godwin, man, I struggle with Chris Godwin. I really like Chris Godwin. I think he could be a good wide receiver one. I think he just happens to be a wide receiver two in the place he is. We will put him in elite wide receiver, though, but I'm going to go ahead and push him all the way to the front. I think he deserves that much. Chris Olave, elite wide receiver two. I don't think he fits the mold of a wide receiver one at all. Kind of more of a slot guy, but not as the level of Amon-Ra St. Brown. Amon-Ra St. Brown does it as an incredible level. Chris Olave is a great player, don't get me wrong. But I think you'd be looking, at this point, if you're the Saints, you're definitely looking for another guy that can, you know, be at least a counterpart to Chris Olave, because you haven't found that at all. And he's not good enough to hold it himself. CeeDee Lamb, elite. Don't need to be saying. Amari Cooper, I think he's a good wide receiver one. I really like Amari Cooper. I think he's been incredibly underrated. It's probably because he played for the Raiders, who sucked, the Cowboys, who they kind of suck, if you know what I mean, but they don't suck, but they do suck. And then the Browns, who obviously they suck. So, yeah, there's just not a lot of good space for him to be in, and that's just kind of what it is. Drake London, elite wide receiver too. Maybe even just good wide receiver, actually. I don't think he's proven enough to be in this tier yet. I think he just landed good wide receiver. Solid player, nothing wrong with him, but doesn't really give you too much. A.J. Brown, I think he's elite. And with that, I'm going to have to drop Amon-Ra down one. I just feel like this tier is kind of getting full. We're looking at that's about where we're looking at. I don't know. We'll talk about it later. Jalen Waddle, that's an interesting one here. I think he's a wide receiver too. And a really, really, really good one. If he's your wide receiver one, you're fine. You're chilling. But is he, you know, what you're really just hoping for and praying for? No, not really at all. So, yeah, we'll get to that later. Deontay Johnson, that's a good wide receiver there. Great route runner, one of the best route runners in the league, and probably, maybe even the best. I mean, he is a premier route runner. He hasn't gotten a chance in Baltimore yet. I think that'll change soon. He'll probably be used a lot in the playoffs. That guy's always open. Use him. George Pickens. He's a good wide receiver one. George Pickens is, I would say, better. Yeah, he's better. This year's proven that. He's had a chance this year to really show off, and Russell Wilson is bringing out the best in him. Since Russell Wilson has taken over as starter, this guy's getting like 70-plus yards a game, touchdowns multiple. He's having a great year. Like third or fourth in receiving yards at this point. George Pickens is, yeah, he's him at this point. He's proving that he is him. Adonai Mitchell. We'll wait on the rookies. I'm going to do all the rookies later. You'll understand why in a bit. Cooper Kupp, on top but not elite. Yes, he's been hurt. I don't care. Injuries don't sway me. You know, just because you're injured doesn't mean you're a bad player. I don't know who's ever decided that, but, oh, you're injured. Now you're bad. No, you just are injured. Let him have a chance to get healthy. Let him show himself again. Since he's come back, he's been pretty good. I think Cooper Kupp is really, really, really good. He just, has to stay healthy. And, that over time will bring him down. But right now, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, and he'll stay up top. Marquise Brown, questionable talent. He does not move the needle for me at all. Average. Just, Calvin Ridley's mid. He is, I don't even know if average is the word. I don't know. Moving right along, we get to Mike Williams. He's a good wide receiver when he's on the field. Curtis Samuel, mid. I like Curtis Samuel. He might be good, but he's just not amazing. Doesn't really do anything great. Just does a lot of things pretty solid. But that's fine. Brandon Cooks is kind of the same guy at this point in his career. It is what it is. Christian Watson. At this point, he's going in mid. I'd almost want to put him in up and coming, but I feel like he's just kind of done a lot of nothing in games he's actually been healthy in, even when he's missed a lot of games. But he can still rise up. Most of the mid guys are going to stay mid or get worse. He's a guy who could get better theoretically, but right now, I just don't see it. Rashee Rice. Oh, hot take here. He is somewhere in here. Probably here. He's probably an elite wide receiver too, but he's not special. He's just not a special receiver. He just isn't. He fits a scheme well. Mahomes knows how to get them the ball. The Chiefs can get him open. They don't have to worry about Kelsey whenever he's there as much because he's there and he's fine. He's pretty good, but he's just not special, man. He doesn't do anything particularly amazing. He just does a lot of things pretty good, and that's fine. He's very much a Chris Olave. I think they're the same guy nearly. It's just not nearly. I'd probably take Olave above him, but Rice is just, he fits a good scheme, and he does well for the Chiefs. Congratulations. Jordan Addison. He's an elite wide receiver too. I think Jordan Addison is an up-and-coming guy who could eventually get to this good wide receiver 1 tier. He just got to get his head on a little bit straight. A little bit of maturity needs to be happening, but it's okay. DeAndre Hopkins, at this point in his career, he's going to be kind of around here. He's an elite wide receiver too. And for all the different reasons that anyone else in this tier. Yeah, he's not the D-Hop he once was, but he's got hands that are more reliable than anybody on the planet. He's going to get you a converted third down no matter if it's 3rd and 2, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 14. Doesn't matter. He's just a reliable guy. That's a different type of receiver that, every quarterback would want to have. Mike Evans, he's on top. Not elite, though. Nico Collins, here's another one. He's just a good wide receiver 1. I don't think he is touching elite. He's had a season and a half of good football. Before that, he was a bum. Last year was really good. This year is pretty good. Just kind of hurt, but pretty good. But it wasn't as good as last year either way. It's once again a scheme. I almost will guarantee you it's the offensive coordinator comes in, he gets himself set up, he finds the guy, hey, we like the way you play. You're going to fit in here a lot. And that's fine. Not everybody is a superstar. Nico Collins is not a superstar at this point in his career. Maybe could rise to that later, but not now. Michael Pittman, good wide receiver 1. Underrated guy in my opinion. Michael Pittman is super, super reliable. Kind of like a newer age D-Hop, honestly. Big slot guy, but also can play outside, does everything well, blocking, physical, jump balls, secure hands, all those kind of things. He's everything you want in a receiver. He's just a good player. Stephon Diggs, at this point in his career, I might say elite wide receiver too. Some significant drop-off last year in Buffalo, and this year wasn't amazing. He was fine. Then he got hurt, so I'm going to have to say that kind of does cramp him a little bit, especially when he played with Josh Allen last year and still wasn't amazing. It's just not the greatest sign for him. Tyreek Hill, he is elite. He's Tyreek Hill, man. Don't even get it twisted. Yeah, he's not having a good year. The Dolphins aren't having a good year. It's not Tyreek Hill not having a good year. Get out of here. Give him a break. T. Higgins, he is kind of an elite wide receiver too. Him and Cortland Sutton fit in. I think T. Higgins is incredibly overrated. I mean, overrated doesn't mean bad, but he's not a wide receiver 1. He's a jump ball specialist, kind of like Cortland Sutton, a big body. That's great. You got to have those. But special? Nah, not so much. Then let's see. I'm moving Marquise Brown down to depth gadget bad. Same with Jahan Dotson. I just feel like that's a necessary move. Zay Flowers, good wide receiver. Once again, fits a scheme. Good route runner. Can be really shifty. He's probably the best of these guys, but not amazing. Is he an elite wide receiver 2? Maybe. I'll put him in elite wide receiver 2. He fits that Chris Olave, Zay Flowers, or Rashee Rice. They're the same type of guy. They're not necessarily a slot receiver, but they're going to excel when they're in the slot, being able to do things shifty. Going to be pretty quick, pretty fast. Going to be able to burn most people, but also just not a special guy. Tyler Lockett, he's a good wide receiver at this point in his career. Love Tyler Lockett, just not the same dude he once was. Terry McLaurin, good wide receiver 1. We like it. I'm dropping Christian Kirk down to mid. I'm dropping Brandon Cooks to question. Yeah, he's going. Sorry, Brandon Cooks, you're going down to depth, batter, and gadget. You're just not that guy anymore. And then, yeah, that's what we're sitting for here. Devontae Smith, elite wide receiver too. He is. He's really good. Him and Jalen Waddle definitely belong up towards the top here. They're two of the best wide receiver twos possible. As your receiver one, you're fine. You're fine. You know, about right here, there's a split of like, if these guys are your wide receiver one, you're chilling. Like, you're big chilling. These guys, your wide receiver one, you're fine. Okay. You know, that's kind of the feel. Rome Odunze, we're going to get to some of the rookies here in a minute, actually. We'll wait once again. Puka Nacua. I'm going to say good wide receiver one. I like what I've seen from him in just his short career. He's very dominant. He wins in every fashion. It's just, he's a good receiver. That's what he's shown out to be, and I trust him in that much. Now, I think all we have, Tank Dell's the last one we have left. He is a good receiver. I just think he fits a scheme. He's a slot guy here in Houston, and Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, they give him some help. You know, being the second, third, fourth guy available is a big advantage for a guy like Tank Dell. Either way, now we get to the rookies. And how I'm going to rank the rookies. Yeah, I could obviously throw them all in up and coming. If you're still here watching, just know this is much more of a predictive version of what they will be, right? So, Brian Thomas Jr., I think he'll be, and I'm not talking about the peak of their career. I'm talking about the soonest part of their career, how good they'll be. I think he'll be a good wide receiver one. That's how you can project him out right now. It's what he's shown us. He's been very solid. Same with Malik Neighbors. He needs a quarterback. He has probably a bigger ceiling than Brian Thomas at this point, but I like what I've seen from him. Got to keep his head on. Maturity is needed, but it'll be fine. Rome Odunze, once again, I think this guy is a really solid elite wide receiver too. You know, if he's your receiver one, he's the type that's the Debo and above. You're chilling. You know, this is projecting how out here. He's going to be a guy where you're chilling with him. You like what you see, but you're not like, he's fine. You know, you're better than that. Keon Coleman, I think he does fit that second tier. The Cortland Sutton, the T. Higgins, the slot specialist type players. He's a, you're fine if he's your receiver one in the, up and coming wise, but there's just, you could find better. That's what it is. Adonai Mitchell, not seen a ton from him, but I think I'm going to put him in elite wide receiver too. Perfect middle between Keon Coleman and Rome Odunze. I know we haven't seen a lot, but Adonai Mitchell is a special character. I think he'll be very good if he gets his chance. Marvin Harrison Jr., I do think he is closer to the on-top, not elite. Yes, Brian Thomas, Malik Neighbors, they've been a little bit more splashy at this point in his career. Marvin Harrison has been more reliable. Granted, that's part of the offense he's in. He's got a better quarterback than the other two. But we've seen what we've seen, and I like what I've seen from Marvin Harrison Jr. Xavier Worthy, he's really a gadget guy, but in, not the bad way, in the very good way. So I'll say good wide receiver. Just kind of doesn't do anything amazing other than run really fast in one direction, but, has some drop issues here and there, but he's really solid. And Ladd McConkey, dude, he is the strangest version of good wide receiver one ever. Maybe elite wide receiver two, but, open. What you need, what you want, this guy has it. He's gritty, even though he's not as big. So that's what we're looking at with our tiers here. We've got a lot of, I'm going to put Jahan Dotson back up. Here's elite, and here I'm going to rank the elite here for you. So, Justin Jefferson, 1. Tyreek Hill at 2. This year aside, definitely. CeeDee Lamb, 3. Tied A and B. Jamar Chase and A.J. Brown, they are tied. And Devontae Adams at 6, okay? Then, Amon-Ra, Mike Evans, Brandon Ayuk, Cooper Kupp. I like that. And once again, the rookies, if they're here, Marvin Harrison, I'm not saying he's in this tier. I'm saying I could, instead of just putting them in up and coming, because that's what they all are, I'm projecting on them a little bit. So, thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I will see y'all in the next video.